The diner was nearly empty when the suited man sneered, "Do you even speak English?" She flinched, but didn't respond. Her accent, thick with her homeland's melody, had become a target again. Laughter followed. Another table joined in. They didn't know who she was or what she was hiding. Behind her, silence was a name that once made headlines. But now she served coffee in a worn apron. By choice. Why would a millionaire's daughter choose this life? And why had she disappeared, for years without a trace? Some stories don't begin with success. They begin with loss and redemption. Lena, in her mid-20s, works quietly as a waitress in a small-town American diner. Every morning she arrives early, ties her apron, and begins her work without complaint or fanfare. She speaks softly, her foreign accent gently coloring every word, something that immediately draws judgment and mockery from some. But Lena's kindness shines through in the small, unnoticed moments. She smiles warmly at children, helps elderly customers with their orders, and never asks for tips. Her care is subtle but unwavering, as if she's carrying a quiet storm inside that no one sees. At night, alone, her phone reveals a very different life, a life captured in old photographs, flashing tabloids, luxury cars, gala events, and a proud, powerful father who's one of Europe's most influential businessmen. 2 years ago, a tragic car accident stole her mother's life and shattered Lena's world. Since then, she vanished from the public eye, leaving behind fame, fortune, and family. She came here seeking something no amount of money could buy. Peace. A new beginning. Because deep down, Lena knows that wealth without purpose is just an empty shell, and she's determined to find what truly matters. Lena's days are filled with silent battles no one sees. Customers mock her accent, whispering harsh words like illegal and outsider behind her back. The very way she speaks becomes a weapon against her, a reason to belittle someone who only wants to do her job. Even co-workers avoid her or snicker when she's not around, making her feel like an outsider in a place she's come to call home. Her manager doesn't defend her. He tolerates Lena only because she works overtime without complaint, quietly, shouldering the extra burden that no one else wants. He sees her as reliable, but not as someone worthy of respect. Inside Lena, a storm rages. Guilt weighs heavily on her heart. She survived the car crash that took her mother's life, but somehow that survival feels like a curse. Every day she wrestles with the question, why her? Why not me? Each night she opens a leather-bound journal and writes letters she'll never send, words meant for a mother who can no longer hear them. Her handwriting trembles with grief and longing, a private testament to the pain she carries. One evening, a particularly cruel customer, a wealthy businessman, sneers at her. "You're useless," he says, voice dripping with contempt. "Trash in disguise." His words cut deep, but Lena's face stays calm, hiding the hurt behind practiced composure. Later, her co-worker Jess pulls her aside, curiosity mixed with concern. "Why do you stay here, Lena? Why don't you leave?" Lena's answer is quiet but firm. "Not everything I lost was taken from me. Some things I gave away willingly." In that moment, the tension between who Lena was and who she is now feels almost unbearable, her past of luxury and power clashing painfully with her present need for healing and anonymity. It's a fight between identity and survival, a struggle to find herself beyond the judgments, beyond the scars. It was a slow, rainy night at the diner when a young mother walked in, her clothes damp, her eyes tired, and her little daughter clinging to her coat. They sat quietly at a corner booth, sharing whispered words and small smiles. When the bill arrived, the mother hesitated. She didn't have enough to pay. The manager noticed and, with a cold expression, told her to leave if she couldn't afford the meal. But before the woman could gather her things, Lena stepped in. No dramatic gesture. No words. She quietly walked to the register and paid the bill with her own money. No one noticed except one man at the counter. He sat alone, wearing a plain, weathered jacket. To the rest of the world, he looked like any other old man grabbing a late-night coffee. But behind that quiet gaze was Robert Hensley, a reclusive billionaire and philanthropist known for avoiding the spotlight. He had seen everything. The next day he returned, not for coffee but for a conversation. He spoke gently to Lena, asked her name, observed the grace in her eyes, the patience in her voice. Her humility struck him more than any title ever could. Day by day, he began visiting more often, noticing how she treated people, how she carried herself with dignity despite the silent cruelty around her. And then one evening, after the diner had emptied out, he looked at her and said softly, "I know who you are." Lena froze, her hands stiffened, heart racing. But Hensley didn't expose her. He didn't ask questions. He simply smiled and said, "The world doesn't need your name, Lena. It needs your heart." That night, something shifted. For the first time in years, Lena felt seen, not for who she had been, but for who she had chosen to become. News travels fast. Robert Hensley, the town's quietest customer, has pledged millions to rebuild the local homeless shelter. But that's not what leaves people speechless. He names Lena as the project's co-chair. Shock ripples through the diner. The girl with the foreign accent, the one they mocked behind her back. Her co-workers exchange stunned glances, their quiet judgment now tangled with guilt. And then the cruel businessman returns, swaggering in with the same arrogance as before. He assumes Lena's about to be fired, disgraced, finally put in her place. But what happens next brings the entire room to a standstill. Lena calmly removes her apron. Her hands don't shake. She walks to the center of the diner and speaks, not nervously, but with clarity and quiet power. "My name," she says, "is Lena Marceau." Gasps echo through the diner. Eyes widen. Phones begin to lift. Some recognize the name instantly. The heiress to a European fortune vanished after her mother's tragic death. But Lena doesn't bask in the moment. Instead, she shares her truth. How she ran from wealth, from the constant pressure of being someone she no longer recognized. How she found herself here, not in palaces, but in pouring coffee for strangers. She looks around the room, at those who whispered, at those who laughed, and she forgives them. "Not because you deserve it," she says softly, "but because I deserve peace." Silence falls like a hush from the heavens. One by one, heads lower. Some tear up. Others simply stare, unable to look away. The woman they once dismissed has become something more, not a symbol of power, a symbol of grace, of resilience, of what it means to choose kindness over pride. And in that small-town diner, for the first time in a long time, people truly see her. She never returned to the mansion overseas. She stayed in the town that once judged her. But this time they saw her, not her accent, not her past, just her. The diner became a community hub, the shelter a haven of new beginnings. Lena didn't reclaim her old title. She redefined it. Her story wasn't about money, it was about healing. And the world didn't remember her as a millionaire's daughter, but as a woman who chose humility when she had every reason to seek revenge. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the rarest kind of strength. If this story moved you, share it. Remind someone that what we judge on the surface is never the full story. Leave a comment. Have you ever misjudged someone? Or been misjudged yourself? And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories that reveal the power of kindness, courage, and quiet redemption.